Hello there! Today we're going to have a conversation about practices that will help you develop a sense of the English language. In order to develop the feeling of the English language, you need to be able to make distinctions like a native English speaker. Practice number 1. Target the distinctions that you can already make in the English language and really feel them. Distinctions are basically pieces of reality that correspond to symbols or words. A painting is a distinction, a wall is a distinction, a tree is a distinction, love is a distinction, science is a distinction, a video is a distinction, and so on and so forth. Some distinctions are very straightforward. They correspond to one particular part of reality that we very well know about. For example, floor is a distinction. Everybody has a referential experience of floor. But how about construe? If we're talking about some meaning that we construe, it's not the same as build or conceive of. It's actually construe, and it has a specific meaning to it that we need to find in our experience in order for us to be able to use the word construe. And if we can't find it in our experience, then there is no way we can make use of that word in an accurate fashion. So in order to define what distinctions we already know, we need to consciously spend a little bit of time creating the connection between parts of reality around us and the distinctions that we already know. For example, I'm going to say some words and I want you to feel that you know what they mean. Notice what arises when you hear a word coming from me. Camera, cat, floor, ceiling, china, teacher. Now let's go and explore more abstract concepts. Experience, love, God, Buddhism, spirituality, science, algebra, the English language. The reason you could understand those concepts was because you had referential experience for them. So that is the first thing that I want you to do. Now, to take this activity even further, I'm going to say specific words that you may be or may not be aware of, and you will also have to find them in your experience. These words are going to be synonyms. Take your time to pause this video if you need to. See if you can understand that the words refer to different experiences. If you're unable to do so, that means that you need to work to create distinctions in your experience. Technically, basically, effectively, actually, in fact. If you're an exam candidate or have been learning English for a long time, you will know very well that those words constitute linkers or fillers, however you choose to name them. There is a moment for every filler to come, and you need to feel when that moment is right. In order for you to do that, you need to recognize that all those words are different in their energetic signatures. They all bear different meaning. If you are unable to recognize that meaning, you won't be able to use that word accurately. You just won't feel the need for it at all. Sometimes learners have this concern. They say, especially at higher levels, why can't I use all the words that I know? I've gone through this whole vocabulary book, but still I don't feel as if I'm capable of using all those wonderful expressions. And the reason is just that. You don't feel the need for those words in your experience because you don't have the energetic signatures of those words in your experience. They're just very abstract in your memory. They're lying there somewhere in your mind, but there is no connection to your reality with those words. And in order for you to be able to express yourself using those words and expressions, there must be a need for you. And in order for them to express themselves in the form of a verbal construction, there must be an energetic need preceding that verbalization first. It's easy to create distinctions for prepositions. Think of prepositions like in the lesson. In Russian, for example, we say, if I were to translate word by word, on the lesson. But in English, that won't be correct. So in order for you to use that preposition correctly, you really need to feel that in English it is in the lesson or at the lesson. Picture being in the lesson. Picture a classroom. Imagine that a person who is in the lesson is technically in the classroom. And then also feel that it should be in the classroom. It can't be any other way. Phrasal verbs lend themselves to this practice very naturally. Think of a phrasal verb to come up. An idea may come up. When it comes up, it means it comes up to the surface. There is a concrete feeling distinction for come up in my experience that I had to create in English in order to be able to use this phrasal verb well and up to the point. And you should do this as well, I suggest. The second practice that you want to engage in is training your prediction muscle. Every time you hear a speaker saying a sentence, see if you can finish that sentence for them. You can do this while you're listening or while you're reading. When you're listening, notice if you could just actually feel what the speaker is going to say next. For this, it's important that you pick the level of the English language coming from the speaker that is appropriate to you as a learner. Don't force yourself to recognize parts of language that are unfamiliar to you. It's more important to feel the meaning and come up with a simpler word or phrase, rather than try and guess the specific thing that the speaker is going to say. You can also practice this while reading. I'm going to read an excerpt from one of my favorite books, The Mastery of Love, by Don Miguel Ruiz, and we're going to see whether you can complete the sentences with the words that I will be skipping. So let me just read a chapter titled The Magical Kitchen. You need to listen and to complete the sentences with the final word. Imagine that you have a magical kitchen in your home. In that magical kitchen, you can have any food you want from any place in the world in any quantity. You never worry about what to eat. Whatever you wish for, you can have at your table. You are very generous with your food. You give your food unconditionally to others, but not because you want something in return from them. Whoever comes to your home, you feed just for the pleasure of sharing your food. And your house is always full of people who come to eat the food from your magical kitchen. You can practice in this way on your own, or you can ask a friend to read something out for you. You can use an audiobook of your choice and also practice this. You don't have to literally pause the audio in order for yourself to do that. You can just see and test yourself whether you can feel how a speaker is going to finish their sentence. Another way you can practice this is do open-close activities from exam preparation. Open-close is a part of reading and use of English tests from FCE, CAE and CPE. The third practice is training yourself in recognizing what part of speech is necessary. You may want to learn what part of speech the English language consists of. There are nouns, verbs, adjectives, adverbs, conjunctions, prepositions, and so on and so forth. You may want to go to your favorite grammar book to figure out what parts of speech there exist. And then you might start feeling what parts of speech are necessary. I was reading a book by Steven Pinker not so long ago, titled The Language Instinct, where Steven Pinker was saying that native speakers have a feeling for the parts of speech that they need to use. That feeling constitutes what they called mental grammar. You may want to go very specifically about it, be deliberate about it. Choose to create energetic feelings for specific words in the English language. Feel where an adverb should be. Feel where an adjective should be. The fourth practice is shadowing in the moment. This is when you are listening to a speaker and copying what they're saying right as they're speaking. Choose the speaker whose level of English is similar to yours or who you can shadow. Make sure there are not many words that are unfamiliar to you in that person's speech. And basically copy everything they're saying in the moment. To start with, you may choose to listen to parts of sentences that that speaker says, put the video or audio on pause, and repeat what you've just heard. Otherwise, you may practice in real time. That doesn't mean that you have to pause the video every time a speaker finishes their sentence. You may actually shadow in the moment. That will also require that your prediction muscle is quite strong, because there will be moments, especially auxiliary words, that you won't hear and that you will need to fill in based on your instinct and the feeling of the English language. 5. Come back to check the words that you needed but you didn't remember in the moment. Sometimes people find it difficult to understand what I mean when I'm referring to an energetic signature of a word. Here is an easy way to think about it. Think back to an experience you had when the word was on the tip of your tongue, but you couldn't really bring it back into your memory. It was there, you felt the need, you felt the urge for that word. It was somewhere there, it was like spinning in your mind, but you could not really bring it forth to the surface. That was exactly the moment when the signature was there, but the verbalization was not. If you have a moment like this, don't just leave it there. This is actually an incredible learning opportunity. Go back to your vocabulary book and just find that word that you needed in that moment. Reconstruct that sentence. Make use of that situation. Don't just leave it there. That is actually a perfect learning moment for you to create a connection between the energetic signature of a word, and therefore a need for it, and the verbal form of it. And the final tip that I'm going to share is ask your teacher not for the translation, but for the definition of the word. Ask your teacher, whether they're a native speaker or a local teacher, how they feel the word that they're teaching you. Ask them to give you an example. Ask them to give you a visual. Don't associate the word that they're teaching you with a translation equivalent in your own first language. Ask the teacher, so how do you feel this word? What does this word mean to you? What is an association that you have with this word? How do you experience this word? Make sure you try to create a referential experience in your own first-hand experience for that particular word or phrase. The more you do this, the more accurate your English will become. I hope these techniques and tricks help you. I'm very thankful to you for watching this video until the end. If you want to become my private student, you can expand the description box down below and find my email. Email me and I will share with you the details. I'm very happy to see you here every time you come, so please make sure you stay with me for next videos if you're into my approach. And I'm grateful once again, I'm so grateful, such a grateful person. And I will see you again very soon.